Oh,
Oh,
there's cripples in here, and it's the spider building.
right. Excuse me.
I'm getting away from Mark. Yep, that's why.
Oh, I fucked up the timing. Sorry.
Hi, everyone. This is Driver. I've owned Hunt Showdown since March 19th, 2019. As of recording this video, I have 115 hours played. Now, that may not sound unusual at first, but when you consider that I've owned the game for over 7 years, it paints a very different picture. That works out to roughly 16 hours per year, or about an hour and a half per month. The reality is that despite owning Hunt for years, I've never really learned the game. I've jumped in from time to time, played some matches, enjoyed myself, and then moved on to other things. But I've never sat down and deliberately tried to improve. That's what this series is about. My goal isn't to become a professional player. It isn't to become a streamer. It isn't even to become a 6-star player. My goal is simple. I want to see if I can become an above average Hunt Showdown player while maintaining a casual gaming schedule. Before jumping into that journey, I spent some time trying to understand how people actually approach Hunt. I watched a variety of YouTube creators and streamers whose content I enjoy, and as I watched, I started noticing some broad playstyle categories. The first group were the close range specialists. These are the breachers, the shotgun players, the hyper aggressive hunters who thrive in fast paced fights and close quarter engagements. The second group were the mid range specialists. These players tend to use carbines, bows, and versatile loadouts. They adapt well to changing situations and often rely on a wide variety of tools to solve problems. The third group, they were the solo specialists. These players seemed to blend elements of both close range and mid range gameplay. They needed enough aggression to finish fights, but enough patience and discipline to survive while outnumbered. And finally, there are the long range specialists and snipers. Surprisingly, I found a lot of content centered around sniping. What I found less often were solo creators whose entire content revolved around the long range playstyle. And honestly, that makes sense. Of all the styles I observed, long range play appears to have the hardest time consistently wiping full trios by itself. As I watched these different approaches, I started thinking about myself and how I play. I've noticed that the closer I am to another player, the less comfortable I become. When fights turn into fast, twitchy gun battles, my adrenaline goes through the roof. My decision making speeds up, sometimes too much. I start reacting instead of thinking. What I enjoy most are slower, more deliberate engagements, positioning, patience, information gathering, predicting movement, setting up an angle, and ultimately landing a shot. Nothing else in Hunt gives me the same level of satisfaction as a well earned long range kill. But before I talk more about that, I think it's important to explain why Hunt appeals to me in the first place. Because if I'm being honest, there are a lot of games I could have chosen for this journey. What keeps pulling me back to Hunt is that it doesn't feel like a traditional run and gun shooter. The gunplay is deliberate, where positioning, patience, information, and most importantly, audio all matter. Audio cues play a massive role in Hunt, and that's one of the things I absolutely love about the game. A distant gunshot, a horse being startled, crows taking flight, dogs barking, or a broken branch. All of these things tell a story if you're paying attention. Very few games make information gathering feel as important as mechanical skill. Then there's the setting. Cowboys and zombies, honestly, it's just a fantastic combination. The weapons, the atmosphere, the sound design, and the world itself all combine into something that feels completely different from most modern shooters. It's a style of gameplay that really resonates with me. Now, I'm not completely new to first person shooters. Many years ago, I played a lot of PlanetSide and spent time in PlanetSide 2 as well. But it's been a very long time since I've truly dedicated myself to learning an FPS game. For most of the last decade, I've spent the majority of my gaming time in MMOs, such as World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls Online, and Guild Wars 2. In fact, Guild Wars 2 is another game that I've owned for years but never fully committed to learning, something I may eventually explore on this channel as well. Because of that background, I'm approaching Hunt from a very different perspective than someone coming from Counter-Strike, Valorant, Apex Legends, or Call of Duty. My strengths aren't lightning fast reflexes or 1,000 hours of recent FPS experience. My strengths are patience, planning, research, and learning complex systems. And that's what eventually led me to my first playstyle decision. After looking at all the different playstyles and spending time playing each one, I decided that I wanted to focus on becoming a long range player. Not because I think it's the strongest playstyle, I really don't feel like it is. And not because I think it's the easiest playstyle. And certainly not because I think it's the most efficient way to climb ranks. I chose it because it's the style I genuinely enjoy the most. It's where I have the most fun. If I'm going to spend months learning this game, I want to focus on the part of it that excites me. I want to learn positioning, map knowledge, sight lines, when to engage, when not to engage, and I want to see if I can become genuinely effective in that role. It also fits well when I occasionally get the chance to team up with my son or some of my friends. All of them naturally gravitate towards mid range and close range fighting styles. That gives me an opportunity to fill a different role within the team while still contributing in a meaningful way. Now, let's talk about how I'm actually going to approach this. Because my biggest challenge isn't Hunt, it's time. I have a professional career that can be fairly demanding. I'm married, which means I have a relationship that deserves my time and attention. My son is grown and in his 20s now, so I have no children living in the house. We do have an older family member living with us, and while my wife handles most of the day to day support, it's still part of our lives and responsibilities. And if all of that wasn't enough, we live on a small farm in Norway. There's always something that needs to be done, something that needs fixing or maintaining. The reality is that I don't have the luxury of treating gaming like a full time hobby. Most weekdays, I can usually find about an hour to play. On weekends, maybe 3 or 4 spread throughout the day. And every once in a great while, my wife and I look at each other and decide we both need a day off from reality. On those rare occasions, I might get an 8-hour gaming session. They're uncommon enough that they're practically a holiday. Now, I should probably point out that I'm not a big television watcher. When most people are watching TV in the evening, I'm usually gaming, although I do make exceptions. The Great British Baking Show is surprisingly difficult to compete with. So, my available playtime is pretty limited, which means I need a different approach than simply grinding more hours. My plan is simple. I'm going to play 1 or 2 matches each night whenever possible. Every match will be recorded. Then I'll review the footage and ask a few questions. What did I do right? What did I do wrong? Why did I die? What should I have done differently? What specific skill do I need to improve? And then, at the end of each week, I'll condense those matches into a single video. You'll see the successes, you'll see the failures, you'll see the lessons learned. And judging by my current skill level, there's going to be a lot of failures. Like, a lot. Every video will include a summary of the matches, things like kills, deaths, bounties secured, and other notable moments. I'll also highlight specific concepts and skills that I'm actively working on during that week. And whenever I get the opportunity to play with my son or my other friends, I'll include some of that gameplay as well. I think it'll be interesting to see whether the things I'm learning in solo play actually translate into team play. I'll also share videos, guides, and creators that I find genuinely helpful throughout this journey. If someone explains a concept well or teaches me something useful, I'll point people towards that resource and talk about how I'm trying to apply it in my own games. Most importantly, though, I believe gaming should be fun. Before anything else, gaming is supposed to be fun. The goal isn't perfection. The goal isn't to become a professional player. The goal is to learn, improve, and to challenge myself. And hopefully I can demonstrate that even if a game sits far outside your normal comfort zone, and even if you only have limited time available, you can still make meaningful progress if you're willing to learn deliberately. And if nothing else, we're probably going to get some really good laughs out of this process. So that's where this journey begins. A player with 115 hours over 7 years, a longtime MMO player, a returning Hunt player who's never really learned the game, and a simple goal. Can deliberate practice, thoughtful analysis, and a casual gaming schedule turn me into an above average Hunt Showdown player? I honestly don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out.